If you have reached your 60s, 70s, or even your 80s, there is something important to understand before anything else. Aging is not a sudden loss of control. It is not a cliff you fall from. It is a biological process that remains responsive to signals every single day you are alive. The nervous system you carry now is still learning. Your brain is still adjusting. Your body is still listening. The question is not whether change is possible. The question is what signals you are giving it, especially in the evening hours, when biology quietly decides how well you will function tomorrow. After about 7 p.m., the brain begins transitioning into a different mode. This is not about willpower or discipline. It is about physiology. Light, movement, food, stress, and stimulation all carry more weight in the evening than most people realize. For older adults, these evening signals can either protect memory, sleep, and emotional calm, or slowly erode them without obvious warning signs. The brain does not age uniformly. Certain systems decline faster when they are overstimulated late in the day. Dopamine signaling becomes noisier. Cortisol rhythms flatten. The internal clock, the circadian rhythm, loses contrast between day and night. This is not a failure of character or motivation. It is a predictable shift in neurobiology that can be corrected gently with consistency. Many people believe that after retirement age, sleep problems, memory lapses, low energy, or anxiety are simply normal. But normal does not mean inevitable. It often means common, and common habits, especially evening habits, shape the trajectory of aging more than intense workouts or supplements ever could. The nervous system thrives on rhythm. When rhythms weaken, the brain struggles to know when to be alert and when to repair itself. After sunset, the body expects fewer demands. When those demands stay high, bright lights, heavy meals, emotional stress, constant news, or late-night stimulation, the brain remains in a semi-alert state. Over time, this interferes with deep sleep, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation. One of the most important shifts after 7 p.m. is light exposure. The aging eye transmits less light to the brain, which paradoxically makes artificial light more disruptive. Bright overhead lighting or screens late in the evening suppress melatonin, not dramatically, but enough to fragment sleep architecture. Deep sleep becomes shorter. REM sleep becomes lighter. The brain's nightly cleanup system, the glymphatic system, works less efficiently. This is the system responsible for clearing metabolic waste associated with cognitive decline. This does not mean living in darkness. It means understanding that softer, lower, warmer light after sunset is not cosmetic. It is neurological care. Lamps instead of overhead lights. Screens dimmed or avoided. Television watched from a distance rather than held close. These small adjustments restore contrast between day and night, which the brain uses to time hormone release, body temperature, and sleep depth. Another quiet disruptor after 7 p.m. is emotional stimulation. The nervous system does not distinguish between important stress and perceived stress. Intense news, arguments, financial worries, or even overly engaging entertainment raise sympathetic nervous system activity. Heart rate variability drops. Blood pressure stays elevated longer into the night. For older adults, this means less time in parasympathetic recovery, the state that supports digestion, tissue repair, and emotional calm. Avoiding stimulation does not mean avoiding life. It means choosing gentler input, conversations that soothe rather than activate, music that slows breathing, reading that does not demand urgency. These choices send a powerful message to the brain. It is safe to downshift. Perhaps most misunderstood is the belief that activity late in the evening keeps the body young. In reality, intense effort after 7 p.m. often delays recovery in older nervous systems. Movement is essential, but timing matters. Earlier activity improves sleep pressure and insulin sensitivity. Late intense activity raises core temperature and cortisol at the wrong time, delaying deep sleep onset. Aging well is not about doing more. It is about doing things at the right time. The evening is not a test of discipline. It is a biological window where less input often produces more resilience. And none of this is about perfection. The nervous system responds to patterns, not exceptions. A calm evening routine, repeated most nights, retrains the brain's expectation of safety and rest. That expectation is the foundation of longevity, memory, and independence. The remarkable truth is that the brain's ability to adapt does not disappear with age. Neuroplasticity changes form, but it does not vanish. What changes is the threshold. Older brains require clearer signals and more consistency to make adjustments. This is why evening habits matter so deeply. They are among the strongest signals the nervous system receives. After 7 p.m., one of the most impactful things to stop doing is chasing stimulation in the name of productivity or distraction. Late night snacking, constant scrolling, emotionally charged conversations, or bright screens all feed the same loop. Short-term comfort at the cost of long-term stability. This loop quietly destabilizes dopamine signaling. Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure, it is the molecule of motivation and anticipation. With age, baseline dopamine levels decline. This is normal. What accelerates decline is repeated artificial spikes late in the day. When dopamine is driven too high at night, through sugar, screens, or emotional intensity, it crashes the following morning. The result is low drive, mental fog, and a sense of heaviness that many assume is aging itself. Stabilizing dopamine does not require stimulation. It requires predictability, simple routines, consistent dinner timing, gentle movement earlier in the day, a predictable wind down, restored dopamine tone. This creates steady motivation rather than bursts followed by fatigue. Food timing also plays a role. Large, heavy meals after 7 p.m. demand digestive effort when the body is preparing for repair. Blood sugar remains elevated longer. Insulin sensitivity is lower at night, particularly after 60. This does not mean skipping dinner. It means favoring lighter, protein-forward meals earlier in the evening. This supports muscle maintenance without disrupting sleep. Sleep is not passive. It is active neurological work. During deep sleep, memories are stabilized. Emotional experiences are processed. Inflammatory markers decrease. The glymphatic system flushes waste products from brain tissue. Fragmented sleep does not feel dramatic, but over years it compounds into cognitive decline, mood instability, and reduced balance. One of the simplest tools for improving sleep quality is breath control in the evening. Slow nasal breathing, especially with longer exhales, activates the vagus nerve. This lowers heart rate and blood pressure naturally. Just 5 minutes of calm breathing before bed can meaningfully improve sleep depth. This is not meditation in the abstract. It is direct nervous system signaling. Stress does not need to be eliminated. It needs to be contained. The evening is not the time to solve life's biggest problems. The brain does not resolve stress at night. It amplifies it. Writing worries down earlier in the evening allows the brain to release them temporarily. This simple act tells the nervous system that vigilance can stand down until morning. Gentle hormetic practices, like warmth from a shower or bath, can support sleep when timed properly. Heat exposure causes a rebound drop in core temperature afterward, which facilitates sleep onset. This is one of the safest and most effective tools for older adults to improve sleep without medication. Movement remains essential, but evening movement should emphasize mobility, balance, and ease. Gentle walking, stretching, or controlled movements support circulation without activating stress pathways. This protects joints and preserves confidence in movement, which is critical for independence. Above all, the nervous system needs reassurance. After decades of responsibility, many older adults carry a subtle background vigilance. The evening is a chance to teach the brain that effort can release. That release is not weakness. It is biological intelligence. When evenings become predictable and calm, mornings improve automatically. Energy stabilizes. Mood lifts. Memory sharpens. Not because of force, but because the brain finally receives clear instructions about when to work and when to repair. Circadian rhythm repair is one of the most powerful, underestimated tools for longevity. It is not about sleep alone. It is about aligning every system, hormones, metabolism, immune function, and mood into a coherent pattern. After 50, this alignment weakens unless it is intentionally supported. The day sets the stage for the night. Morning light exposure anchors the internal clock, but the evening determines whether that signal holds. Bright artificial light after 7 p.m. tells the brain that day has not ended. Over time, this delays melatonin release and blunts morning energy. The result is a flattened rhythm. Tired during the day, restless at night. Protecting the evening is an act of self-respect, not restriction. Dimming lights, reducing noise, and lowering stimulation are ways of telling the nervous system that it no longer needs to stay alert. This is especially important for emotional health. Anxiety and irritability often worsen when the brain lacks deep sleep, not because of external circumstances. Purpose also plays a role. The brain thrives on meaning, but meaning does not require constant activity. Purpose can be expressed through routine, preparing for the next day, caring for the body, creating a sense of order. These actions stabilize identity during a phase of life where roles may shift. One of the greatest threats to healthy aging is not physical decline. It is the quiet erosion of confidence. When sleep is poor, balance worsens. When balance worsens, fear of falling increases. When fear increases, movement decreases. This loop can begin with something as simple as overstimulation in the evening. Breaking that loop does not require dramatic change. It requires respecting biological timing, earlier movement, calmer evenings, consistent sleep, and wake times. These habits protect not only the brain, but the ability to live independently. Inflammation is another silent factor. Chronic low-grade inflammation increases with age, driven by poor sleep, stress, and metabolic instability. Evening habits influence all three. When the nervous system remains activated late into the night, inflammatory markers stay elevated longer. Over years, this affects joints, cardiovascular health, and cognition. Regulating the evening helps regulate inflammation naturally. Deep sleep lowers inflammatory cytokines. Stable blood sugar reduces vascular stress. Calm breathing lowers sympathetic tone. These effects accumulate slowly, but powerfully. Importantly, none of this requires perfection. Biology responds to averages. A calm evening most nights is enough to shift trajectories. Occasional disruptions do not erase progress. What matters is the overall signal the nervous system receives. There is dignity in caring for the body with respect rather than force. Aging well is not about fighting time. It is about cooperating with biology. The evening hours are a negotiation between effort and rest. When rest is honored, effort becomes more effective. Many people discover that when they stop overstimulating after 7 p.m., they do not lose enjoyment. They gain clarity. Mornings feel steadier. Emotions feel more proportional. Memory feels more reliable. These changes are subtle at first, then unmistakable. The brain is not asking for less life. It is asking for better timing. Longevity is not simply measured by how many years pass, but by how capable you remain within those years. The ability to rise from a chair with confidence, to walk without fear, to think clearly and respond calmly. These capacities do not disappear suddenly. They fade when the nervous system no longer receives clear signals about when to work and when to recover. After 7 p.m., the body begins preparing for restoration. This preparation is subtle. Heart rate gradually lowers. Core temperature begins to drift downward. The brain starts shifting resources away from outward attention and toward internal maintenance. When this transition is repeatedly interrupted, the cost is not immediate, but it is cumulative. Many older adults unknowingly carry their daytime vigilance into the evening. The body remains in a state of readiness, even when there is no immediate demand. Muscles stay slightly tense. Breathing remains shallow. Thoughts continue to loop. This is not a personal failure. It is a nervous system that has not been given permission to stand down. Stopping certain habits after 7 p.m. is not about restriction. It is about protection. Protecting sleep architecture, protecting emotional regulation, protecting the brain's ability to repair itself overnight. Sleep is where much of longevity work truly happens. During deep sleep, inflammatory signals quiet. Blood vessels recover elasticity. Neural connections that support memory and coordination are reinforced. When evenings are overstimulating, deep sleep becomes fragmented, even if total sleep time seems adequate. Over time, this fragmentation shows up as slower reaction time, reduced balance, and emotional sensitivity. Gentle evenings support the opposite trajectory. Warm, lower lighting signals safety. Predictable routines reduce cognitive load. Calm sensory input allows the nervous system to shift toward parasympathetic dominance, the state responsible for healing and restoration. Breathing plays an essential role here. Slow, controlled nasal breathing with longer exhales lowers blood pressure and heart rate naturally. This is not a relaxation technique in the abstract. It is a direct biological message to the brain that vigilance is no longer required. Just a few minutes can change the entire quality of the night. Food choices in the evening also matter. Heavy meals late at night demand metabolic effort when the body is preparing for repair. Over time, this contributes to inflammation and restless sleep. Lighter, earlier dinners allow the digestive system to quiet, supporting deeper rest and more stable morning energy. Movement remains vital, but the evening is not the time for strain. Gentle walking, stretching, or slow mobility work supports circulation without activating stress pathways. This preserves joint health and reinforces confidence in movement, one of the most important predictors of long-term independence. Perhaps most importantly, calm evenings restore trust in the body. When sleep improves, balance improves. When balance improves, fear decreases. When fear decreases, movement increases. This positive cycle often begins not with exercise, but with rest. There is dignity in allowing the body to recover. Aging well is not about resisting time with force. It is about cooperating with biology through timing and consistency. Your body is still listening. It responds to the signals you give it each night. When evenings become quieter, days become more capable. Energy stabilizes. Mood steadies. Confidence returns. You are not behind. You are not broken. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do, respond to its environment. And each evening, especially after 7 p.m., you still have the ability to shape that environment in ways that support strength, clarity, and independence for years to come.